Something just went down inside one of the most powerful churches in the country. Bishop Wooden has officially drawn a line in the sand, and he's not backing down. In a bold move that shocked his congregation, he declared that he won't be silenced or manipulated by anyone. People in the room say the tension was real. Some were in disbelief, others stood up in support. But what really triggered this explosive moment? What happened behind closed doors that pushed Bishop Wooden to speak out now? Stay tuned, because the truth behind this shocking showdown is deeper, louder, and far more powerful than anyone expected. Imagine a church where power, loyalty, and truth are all being tested, and right at the center of it stands Bishop Wooden. Recently, the bishop made a bold and unexpected declaration. He will not be controlled or manipulated. But this wasn't just another sermon moment. Behind that statement lies a story filled with tension, private disagreements, and behind-the-scenes struggles that few people truly understand. In today's video, we're diving deep into what really led to Bishop Wooden's shocking announcement, the hidden conflicts, the key figures involved, and how this revelation could reshape his entire ministry. What we've uncovered will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about this respected leader. Stay tuned, because the truth behind this story is bigger than anyone imagined. From exclusive insider accounts to verified details, we're breaking it all down, and trust me, by the end of this video, your view of Bishop Wooden and his powerful stand will never be the same again. For years, Bishop Wooden has been celebrated for his powerful preaching, bold leadership, and tireless work in the community. His influence reaches far beyond the pulpit, but with great influence often comes great pressure. And now, whispers from inside his circle suggest that all is not as peaceful as it appears. Behind the scenes, sources claim there have been ongoing power struggles within his organization, quiet conflicts that never make it to Sunday service. Certain voices within the leadership, according to insiders, have allegedly tried to sway decisions, shape public messages, and even interfere in financial matters. For a while, Bishop Wooden stayed silent, watching carefully, hoping things would settle. But over time, the signs became impossible to ignore. This isn't just another case of church politics, it's a battle for integrity and purpose. Those close to the situation say Bishop Wooden's recent declaration, "I will not be manipulated," wasn't made out of anger or impulse. It was a statement born from months, maybe even years, of witnessing things that threatened the true mission of the ministry. Experts say moments like this reveal what's really happening behind closed doors. When a leader finally takes a stand, it often exposes fractures that were hidden for far too long. And in Bishop Wooden's case, that stand may have changed everything. It was the culmination of months of deliberate observation, introspection, and maybe even conflict with others trying to sway him. This is where everyone who is familiar with the story is shocked. Although most people believe this to be internal politics, Bishop Wooden's decision to speak out was motivated by a more private, nearly undetectable cause. There are few details available concerning this concealed trigger. However, those who saw it say it might change the way the church functions in the future. The true controversy begins to emerge with what transpired next. But the story is only getting started. We will examine the event that led to Bishop Wooden's public position and the reasons it has everyone talking in the next part. Bishop Wooden's public proclamation was not the result of an overnight incident. Several sources claim that it was the result of months, if not years, of subtly applying pressure, scheming behind the scenes, and trying to sway his choices. Those who are close to the issue reflect a different reality. Despite the church's common perception as a place of guidance and tranquility, a string of disputes that endangered not only the organization's course but also its leadership. According to sources, a particularly contentious meeting laid the groundwork for what would turn out to be a pivotal event. Some church leaders allegedly made ideas during this meeting that appeared harmless at first glance, but were actually intended to transfer authority and control. Among these were recommendations for financial supervision, decision-making rights, and administrative authority. Witnesses claim that Bishop Wooden saw the underlying agenda right away. The widespread outcry over this tragedy is what makes it even more alarming. Bishop Wooden is shown calmly but forcefully rejecting suggestions that are manipulative and pointing out subtle attempts at coercion in a recording of part of this discussion that was allegedly leaked. He spoke with precision and purpose. He underlined the value of openness, truthfulness, and adhering to the church's goal. His tone, according to those in attendance, made it obvious that manipulation would not be accepted under his direction going forward, leaving no opportunity for discussion. However, the narrative goes beyond a contentious meeting. Bishop Wood had been dealing with emotional strain and personal threats for months, according to several insiders. Although the general public was unaware of these pressures, it was said that they included efforts to damage his reputation, regulate his messaging, and even affect the congregation's spiritual direction. Bishop Wooden took a daring risk by speaking out, one that might have caused division within the church, but also strengthened his position of power. Moments such as this are crucial, according to religious leadership experts. Depending on how the message is interpreted, a leader's direct confrontation with manipulation has the potential to either build or weaken the organization. Early responses from the public and congregation have been overwhelmingly positive for Bishop Wooden. For many, this represents honesty, integrity, and unflinching leadership. This is the startling twist, though, that most people are still unaware of. Insiders said that the meeting was just the start. In the upcoming months, there are rumors of more serious disputes, covert plans, and possible power battles. Although resolute in public, Bishop Wooden's statement might have sparked a wider dispute that nobody outside the inner circle completely comprehends. It's critical to examine the individuals involved in the covert agendas that have been boiling behind the scenes in order to fully comprehend the seriousness of Bishop Wooden's remark. Although there are influencers in every organization, insiders in this instance point to a network of people whose goals might have conflicted with Bishop Wooden's vision for the church. Members of the senior leadership team come first. These are people who have been in positions of power for a long time. Their own goals might not always coincide with the church's objective. Sources claim that some of them had been subtly trying to increase their influence by influencing choices on public relations, financial management, and hiring. Although their suggestions appeared standard at first glance, Bishop Wooden recognized them as subtly manipulative tactics that could jeopardize his authority. Then there are outsiders who have an interest in the church's activities, known as external influencers. These could include advisors, donors, and prominent members of the community who have expectations for their support. According to some insiders, Bishop Wooden was forced to adopt a strong public position as a result of mounting pressure from these outside forces. It wasn't just internal tension, its levels included financial support, spiritual direction, and influence. The importance of trust and loyalty adds even more complexity to this circumstance. Loyalty may be a double-edged sword in any company. Conflict occasionally arose among those who were supposed to be allies. Some sources claim that a small circle of trusted advisors tried to influence choices in ways that went against Bishop Wooden's values. His choice to speak up was apparently greatly influenced by the discovery of this betrayal. This is where things become even more intriguing, though. Although the majority of these disputes were minor and out of the public view, some churchgoers and community members were starting to pick up on odd trends, abrupt shifts in leadership positions, choices that were inconsistent with earlier guidelines, and public declarations that suggested internal conflict. Moments such as this are crucial, according to religious leadership experts. Depending on how the message is interpreted, a leader's direct confrontation with manipulation has the potential to either build or weaken the organization. Early responses from the public and congregation have been overwhelmingly positive for Bishop Wooden. For many, this represents honesty, integrity, and unflinching leadership. This is the startling twist, though, that most people are still unaware of. Insiders said that the meeting was just the start. In the upcoming months, there are rumors of more serious disputes, covert plans, and possible power battles. Although resolute in public, Bishop Wooden's statement might have sparked a wider dispute that nobody outside the inner circle completely comprehends. It's critical to examine the individuals involved in the covert agendas that have been boiling behind the scenes in order to fully comprehend the seriousness of Bishop Wooden's remark. Although there are influencers in every organization, insiders in this instance point to a network of people whose goals might have conflicted with Bishop Wooden's vision for the church. Members of the senior leadership team come first. These are people who have been in positions of power for a long time. Their own goals might not always coincide with the church's objective. Sources claim that some of them had been subtly trying to increase their influence by influencing choices on public relations, financial management, and hiring. financial management, and hiring. Although their suggestions appeared standard at first glance, Bishop Wooden recognized them as subtly manipulative tactics that could jeopardize his authority. Then there are outsiders who have an interest in the church's activities, known as external influencers. These could include advisors, donors, and prominent members of the community who have expectations for their support. According to some insiders, Bishop Wooden was forced to adopt a strong public position as a result of mounting pressure from these outside forces. It wasn't just pressure from these outside forces. It wasn't just internal tension, its levels included financial support, spiritual direction, and influence. The importance of trust and loyalty adds even more complexity to this circumstance. Loyalty may be a double-edged sword in any company. Conflict occasionally arose among those who were supposed to be allies. Some sources claim that a small circle of trusted advisors tried to influence choices in ways that went against Bishop Wooden's values. His choice to speak up was apparently greatly influenced by the discovery of this betrayal. This is where things become even more intriguing though. Although the majority of these disputes were minor and out of the public view, some churchgoers and community members were starting to pick up on odd trends, abrupt shifts in leadership positions, choices that were inconsistent with earlier guidelines, and public declarations that suggested internal conflict. Many people would have missed these minor clues, but they were actually a hint of more serious issues that led to Bishop Wooden's audacious statement. Leadership experts say such circumstances frequently expose a test of character. A significant message is sent to the entire community, not just the immediate circle of influencers, when someone like Bishop Wooden refuses to be manipulated. It sets limits, enforces authority, and upholds the principles of honesty and openness. Insiders caution that principles of honesty and openness. Insiders caution that the repercussions might not be expected though. Silent conflicts could now intensify, particularly if individuals with ulterior motives feel confronted or exposed. The exciting part comes next. According to some insiders, there might be even more participants, people whose identities are not yet public knowledge, who could show up and make matters more complicated. If accurate, this story's next chapter may contain unexpected and startling insights regarding influence, loyalty, and power. The response to Bishop Wooden's public statement was swift and forceful. Members of the congregation apparently disagreed, but the majority appeared to support his position. Insiders said the congregation's reactions were a mixture of surprise, awe, and interest. Many had never witnessed such an outspoken challenge to deception, particularly from someone in such a high-profile role. The declaration was more than just a statement. It served as a warning that clandestine influence and hidden goals would no longer be accepted by the leadership. The debate soon became reflected on social media. Opinions poured into platforms from followers, detractors, and interested onlookers. Advocates commended Bishop Wooden. Advocates commended Bishop Wooden for his bravery, describing him as a leader who doesn't hesitate to speak the truth. Commenters said things like, "This is exactly why we trust him with our spiritual guidance," and finally someone in power who stands up for integrity. These encouraging responses demonstrated how much the public values accountability and transparency. Not every comment, though, was encouraging. Bishop Wooden was charged by some critics as exaggerating or fabricating needless drama. Some observers questioned if his announcement would upset the church's governing structure. Some conjectured that the public declaration could serve as a preventative measure against suspected internal disputes. Religious organization analysts point out that there is always a chance of unforeseen repercussions when a leader publicly addresses internal issues. When a wider audience is involved, tensions that were previously controlled behind closed doors can abruptly worsen. Reactions varied even inside the church. According to reports, some senior members who had tried to have an impact on choices in the past felt vulnerable and intimidated. It's possible that these people thought tactful persuasion was a typical aspect of leadership. Bishop Wooden, however, reframed their behaviors as undesirable in his message. According to sources, some of these officials quietly changed their strategy after understanding that they would now face strong opposition to any attempts at manipulation. Leaders in the community and other groups keep a careful eye on the events outside the church. Analysts of religious leadership note that Bishop Wooden's statement may establish a precedent, particularly in societies where adherents are calling for more openness and moral leadership. Bishop Wooden's public stand goes beyond merely defending his position of power. He's letting comparable organizations know that honesty must come first. This is where things start to become really interesting. According to insiders, a stressful but crucial moment has been produced by the public's backing and the criticism from detractors. Now, Bishop Wooden must strike a careful balance between upholding his power, resolving internal conflicts, and making sure the church's purpose is carried out uninterrupted. Sources claim that the choices he takes in the upcoming weeks could affect not only his legacy, but potentially the organization's long-term viability. However, most individuals are unaware of the full extent of the impact. According to certain accounts, some church factions are secretly planning how to reclaim their dominance. Despite the impact of Bishop Wooden's statement, experts warn that deceptive practices don't go away quickly. In reality, as a leader who refuses to make concessions, clashes with hidden goals, some of the most dramatic occurrences might still be ahead. There is more than one assertion in Bishop Wooden's declaration that he will not be influenced. It represents a watershed that may change the dynamics of his church and have an impact on more general tendencies in religious leadership. These kind of events are uncommon but crucial, according to experts in organizational behavior and leadership. A leader who refuses to be manipulated sets an example for institutions that look up to them as role models for integrity as well as for their direct followers. Organizational stability is among the most important long-term effects. Although Bishop Wooden has a lot of public backing, experts caution that internal conflicts could still exist. Some members who had previously tried to sway choices might try to subtly protest or adjust to his hard position. Whether the church experiences continuous internal strife or fortifies its basis will depend on how these dynamics develop. Analysts stress that under duress, leadership is frequently put to the test, and Bishop Wooden's next actions will have a significant impact on how his organization develops. Transparency and financial supervision will probably become key areas of attention. According to reports, Bishop Wooden rejected various attempts at manipulation that had to do with resource allocation and financial decision-making. He is making it very evident that accountability is not negotiable by claiming authority and refusing to be influenced. His efforts have the potential to spark a shift in religious leadership across the country by encouraging other churches and organizations to implement more stringent governance guidelines. Loyalty and trust within the church are further long-term effects. Bishop Wooden's trust among his followers has been strengthened by his clear rejection of manipulation. Support from congregations that respect integrity and moral leadership is expected to grow. In addition, the event might weed out people whose goals did not coincide with the church's aim, thereby fostering a more unified and moral community. Although difficult in the short term, this type of purification process frequently produces stronger, more resilient companies. According to leadership experts, there are wider societal ramifications in addition to internal church dynamics. Bishop Wooden's stance contradicts the idea that in order to preserve peace, leaders must make concessions or put up with manipulation. His actions show that honesty and assertiveness can coexist in a time when followers are calling for more responsibility and openness. According to observers, this might encourage other leaders in both religious and secular organizations to adopt similar positions that prioritize morals over expediency or political scheming. Insiders warn that the tale is far from finished, though. There are rumors of more developments, such as possible conflicts with those Bishop Wooden's hard attitude may have exposed or questioned. According to some analysts, outside forces like powerful funders or local leaders might reappear in novel ways and put his leadership to the test once more, as Bishop Wooden manages not only the current disputes but also the long-term maintenance of his power and mission. The upcoming months will probably be very important. The suspenseful part that most people are unaware of is right here. The internal chessboard is far from settled. Despite his public pronouncement portraying him as a fearless leader, every choice he makes now has the potential to set off events that alter relationships, power, and even the composition of his church. The result of this high-stakes situation will depend on strategic thought, moral courage, and steadfastness. It's evident by moral courage and steadfastness. It's evident by the story's conclusion that Bishop Wooden's vow to resist manipulation is more than just a catchphrase. It is a pivotal point in his leadership career, a strong declaration of honesty, bravery, and responsibility. This circumstance offers a unique window into the intricate realm of religious leadership, encompassing everything from the internal disputes and covert plans to the public responses and possible long-term repercussions. The main lesson is that real leadership is put to the test under pressure and against resistance, not when things are easy. Bishop Wooden has demonstrated that, in order to uphold an organization's vision and ideals, it is not only feasible but also essential to resist influence. This indicates to his congregation that they may rely on a leader who values honesty over expediency. The message it conveys to the larger community is strong. Transparency and accountability cannot be compromised, and those who try to subvert these values must be dealt with. There are lessons that can be used by anyone in a leadership role outside of the immediate church setting. The difficulty of navigating power disputes, upholding moral principles, and dealing with pressure without sacrificing beliefs are not limited to religious groups. Bishop Wooden's example not limited to religious groups. Bishop Wooden's example serves as a reminder that being a leader involves more than just making decisions or winning praise from others. It also requires courage and moral clarity. It's also critical to acknowledge the human component of this narrative. Although controversy may make the news, Bishop Wooden's position stems from a desire to defend his community and support sincerely held values. He shows that being a leader is more than just avoiding awkward situations or trying to please everyone. It involves accepting accountability, making difficult choices, and maintaining your integrity even in the face of discomfort. The story is far from finished, though. The coming months may bring more difficulties, unanticipated conflicts, and additional trials of Bishop Wooden's fortitude, according to insiders. Trials of Bishop Wooden's fortitude, according to insiders. For this reason, it's critical for everyone interested in leadership, accountability, and moral decision-making, not just churchgoers, to stay up to date on changes. What then are viewers supposed to learn from this? First, acknowledge how supposed to learn from this? First, acknowledge how crucial integrity is to effective leadership. Second, realize that even in the face of resistance, sticking to your values can foster respect and trust. Third, understand that true influence is determined by the capacity to lead with courage, justice, and transparency rather than by power or manipulation. Don't keep this story to yourself if it has captivated, startled, or motivated you. Show your captivated, startled, or motivated you. Show your friends, family, and coworkers this film so they can see how one leader stood up for what was right and refused to be influenced. While you're here, please remember to subscribe for more stories that reveal the reality behind contentious events and headlines. Like this video and leave a comment with your opinions on ethics and leadership.